poppin', B? Purpok here, and welcome back to another episode of Race the Ramen, the show where I attempt to review something unscripted in the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today, we'll be taking a look at Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, showing now in movie theaters. Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Finally, some good fucking food. Can I swear this early into the video? Probably not. But anyway, Furiosa, in case you weren't aware, is the recently released prequel film to Mad Max Fury Road, and the newest movie in the Mad Max series from series creator and director George Miller, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's like a 79-year-old man. He's been directing movies for decades. He directed the Babe sequel and the Happy Feet movies, 3,000 Years of Longing, which I really like, but not everyone else seems to, and of course the Mad Max movies, among others. And Fury Road came out, almost a decade ago at this point, like 9 years. And back then, people were floored by it in pretty much every respect. It was like, oh, another Mad Max movie, it was whatever. And then it turned out to be one of the best action blockbusters released by the Hollywood system in like decades and decades, and even now still stands as a unique and strong example of just a really well-made movie that was labored over and all these things. So it has, quite a legacy at this point. People really love it. And I remember just way back when that movie was new, they were discussing the idea of a Furiosa movie. Supposedly they were meant to be filmed back to back, but that clearly didn't happen. And now, here we are almost a decade later, and we have another one. Same director, George Miller, same editor, same screenwriter, pretty sure it's the same costume designer, composer, a lot of the same crew, a fair few of the same actors. Not Charlize Theron, she's not back as Furiosa, though fortunately, we have Anya Taylor-Joy, who is great in this. I don't always love her, but they needed to pick someone who is good at representing quiet, seething fury. They probably couldn't have picked a better contemporary actress for that. She's very good at that. And, Chris Hemsworth has basically equal, or like more or less equal screen time to Furiosa for a lot of this. It's an interesting movie. I'm kind of rambling, but let me make this point clear before I go any further. Is this movie as good as Fury Road? Not quite, but I'd say it's on a similar level. It's not quite the near flawless masterpiece that a lot of people see Fury Road as. I don't love it quite that much, but I still completely understand its legacy, and I respect it and really love it too. So, filling the shoes of such a big movie is hard to do. And while he didn't quite reach that, kind of impossible to achieve level set by that last movie, Furiosa is another very, very good, rock solid, really creative, fun, thrilling action movie. And what's even more refreshing is that it's not really that much like Fury Road. It's setting up a lot of things for the story. It's the prequel of Furiosa as a young girl, how she was taken from her home, and how she kind of became the woman she was by the time we see her in Fury Road. And as a prequel, it's really good. It avoids a lot of the pitfalls of over-explaining stuff you never cared about, and everything it actually sheds some light onto and explains is interesting and kind of deepens the richness of the universe rather than takes away from it. It feels like a really, really well thought out story, which is funny to me because apparently the first Fury Road George Miller thought of on a plane ride in his sleep. And I guess he's had most of a decade to correct this one, so hey. Would I say it's not quite like Fury Road? It's still a really good post-apocalyptic action movie with all the kooky characters and weird stuff you'd expect, but the pacing and the structure are very different. Instead of the really frenetic, almost dominantly action-focused, story-light, visual style of Fury Road, this is a lot more meticulous. There's a lot of slower scenes, a lot of uncut shots in the action, really different tone and everything. But I appreciate that. Pretty much all of the Mad Max movies are different from each other anyway, so why not? And you still get everything you want. The crazy vehicles, the crazy people, people exploding and nutso shit happening. I will say I am a little disappointed by the color correction. I don't know if I read up anything specific about this, but I want to say that the first Fury Road was so colorful, and they toned that down a little bit, and it's somewhat disappointing. But for a movie that's like $168 million, you can see the money on screen. It's one of those rare movies these days where seeing it in a theater is worth it. Hopefully that gives you a decent impression of what I think of the movie. It is kind of a lot to take in, and again, if you are going into it expecting another Fury Road, you're not really going to get that, but you are still going to get a really, really good movie in a similar spirit to the first one that does what a good prequel should do. It makes the original better. Not just by small points of comparison, but just like actually strengthening its characters and its narrative with additions that make sense and all that. It's something that I could see huge fans of the original really loving. And the reception hasn't been quite as positive. And when I keep saying that, I mean it's like comparing a 13 to a 10 or something like that. Because Fury Road is so respected and praised. It's hard to fill those shoes. But George Miller, at nearly the age of 80, continues to push his filmmaking, and I guess his wife continues to be a sick editor, and all of his friends continue to be good at what they do, because they got tons of great performances, tons of great costumes, tons of great everything. This is a movie lover's movie that gives you an enjoyable, unique experience that enriches Fury Road and stands alone pretty damn well by itself. I could go on about Chris Hemsworth's performance in this. It's the most fun I've had with a performance of his ever, and it looks like he's having more fun than he ever did in the MCU. It's like when Mark Ruffalo was in Poor Things. These poor dudes need to be in real movies again so they can act. But anyway, Furiosa's fantastic. I'm just kind of rambling. I feel like maybe I'm not doing it the most justice I could, but this is definitely one of those movies you need to experience for yourself. And if you're waiting for it to come to digital or home video or whatever, I understand. And, the first Fury Road didn't do that great financially at first until word of mouth got around. So the fact that Furiosa is underperforming a bit based on how much it cost is concerning, but I can also see that fading because this is a good-ass movie. And we just need to tell everyone who's interested to see it to go see it. So let me just say, if you think you're going to like it, you probably will. Go see it. And if you're not sure you're interested, think about it anyway. Because this is one of the best summer movies in a long time. One of the best movies this summer. Excuse me, I'm full of gas. And definitely, no question, one of the best movies this year. George Miller has still got it. And I want to support this so we can keep getting more thoughtful, well-made, artful films in the mainstream like this. I give Furiosa a 9 out of 10. Really, really very good. I'm not sure it's quite as rewatchable as Fury Road, just for the fact that it is slower and it is half an hour longer. But again, it stands on its own without having to leech off of the popular movie that it's trying to add on to. It is simultaneously an addition to that story and its own very well thought out work of art on its own. Really good setup and payoff and just all that stuff. Just another banger with some slanger from George Miller. Totally worth your time. Go see it. Highly recommend. Now, obviously, Furiosa is a great movie, but one question remains. Obviously, I've said many times, it's not quite as good as Fury Road. But the real important question, is it as good as George Miller's best film, Happy Feet 2? Now that's the question.
Well, we are krill. We are meant to look the same. Not me, Bill. There's only one of me in all the world. I am one in a trillion.